I think us Lackadaisy fans can probably all agree by now that the biggest mystery in our favorite franchise about bootlegging jazz cats is most likely the mystery of who killed Atlas May. But there's one thing we didn't consider. One thing that after much research I found no one has theorized about. At least I think not. Because what I am about to tell you, for all you Lackadaisy fans watching this video, this theory could potentially rock the foundation of how we view this very series. So prepare to have your minds blown. Now, after some research, I found, well, that this seems like something that not really many people would have noticed or even given a second thought to begin with. But this is a theory about Atlas that could potentially give us a lot of details about where the series could be going, and maybe even solve a few things. Well, it probably doesn't, but it's still really cool nonetheless. So here it goes. Atlas was a mute. Yeah, I know. It sounds insane. It really does sound like an insane theory, thinking Atlas couldn't speak. But there is a lot of very, very strong evidence out there, Lackadaisy fans, and now you're probably all thinking back on it. So let me give a bit of clarification to this subject. First of all, in all the flashbacks and the pictures and all the stuff we see Atlas from the past, he doesn't speak. Like, for example, the mini episode for Lackadaisy, Ingenue, I think it's pronounced. We see Atlas literally in the flashback, in the past, somewhat present tense, and he doesn't talk. Now you could just write that off as just I don't know. Not really sure what. It's just always stood out to me that Atlas never spoke. And that was what led me to make this theory in the first place. Because it's more than just that small mini episode that provides us with evidence Atlas was a mute. First, let's look at something that characters and franchises tend to do when they're referring to deceased characters. Sometimes the characters tend to say like, oh, they said this, or they used to say that, or, hey, you said that, that's what they used to say when they're alive. Well, the characters never actually mention anything Atlas said when he was alive, even when they talk about him. And that could also be another coincidence, but hear me out here. In one of the small canon mini-comics to the series, with Mitzi and the camera and Mordecai, she said that Atlas likes to see her use it. She didn't say Atlas said he likes to see her use it. See? There's another strong piece of evidence to support that claim. And literally, in other flashbacks that we happen to see Atlas, he still doesn't speak. And even in other flashbacks, we don't see Atlas speak, and in all the pictures, he doesn't have his mouth open. As if he's not speaking, for instance. Literally, when he's even being spoke to by other characters, he still doesn't talk. Now, you still may all think this is nothing but a bunch of odd coincidences to maybe save up for a really cool surprise voice reveal at the end of the series, because we haven't got the last comics, and, well, episode 1 of the show is probably going to come out sometime soon. But hear me out, because, with some help, I found even more pieces of evidence. Now, before I decide to play a major wild card as part of the last piece of this theory, let's take a look at something else that could be exhibited. You see, in case you were paying close attention in the pilot, we see that Mitzi actually speaks to the portrait of Atlas like she's talking to him. Now, if Atlas couldn't speak, that would feel very practically identical to having a real conversation with him. Now that could also be speculation too, but it does seem pretty strong. And here is one last thing, which may be a bit of a jump, but we do see that Mitzi has trouble running Lackadaisy. I mean, literally, well, the place has just fallen on hard times, visitors kind of stopped showing up, and, well, even the band is thinking of leaving, and they're only left with 2 vehicles. As you can see, Mitzi isn't doing perfect, but is trying hard. But if Atlas couldn't speak, then he wouldn't be able to perfectly give her information as to how she would need to run Lackadaisy if anything happened to him. And I'm all out of evidence now. But I think you guys can understand where I'm coming from with this. We were so focused on who killed Atlas when we weren't focusing on stuff we already were seeing in plain sight, but didn't notice. Now that is what I call diverting reader attention, as someone who is already an author, actually. So let all that theory talk sink into your heads for a bit, Lackadaisy fans, because once the episodes of the show come out, and we see more flashbacks of Atlas not being able to speak, then maybe you'll start to believe this theory a bit more for anyone out there who's skeptical in the audience. And if it turns out we were right all along, and it gets revealed at the very end that Atlas was a mute, I'm just going to say it in advance. Called it.